Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Derek Nelson and Adam Brigman here from CVBN Law. Thank you, Adam Brigman, for coming to my office, which is next door to your office.
It's about 18 feet away.
To give some context, we're in the middle of the full-blown coronavirus lockdown right now. Our office is closed. All of our staff is working from home, except, basically the partners are here working, and we're mostly staying in our own office right now.
The governor did allow law firms to be on the essential list, but we're trying our best to follow the rules like everybody else.
Right.
And keep things pretty light.
Right. So, but, our clients are still treating, they're going to the doctors, people are getting in car accidents. So our job doesn't really end. But we have this, I have seen this as an opportunity to film some content. We've been talking a lot over the last several months about like when things come up, that problems that our clients have, issues where we say, we need to make a video about this and put it out there so people know. Because there's some little things, especially at the very beginning of, like, right after you get in an accident, those first couple days, those first few minutes, there's things you can do to really help your case, and there's things that you can do to kind of tank your case. So the more information we get out there, the better. So we'll talk a little bit about that today, but I want to first talk about the Corona lockdown a little bit. How's your family taking it?
Probably like everybody else's. There's highs and lows. So I guess for a little bit of context for the viewers that don't know us.
Yeah.
Derek and I both have large families. So I have 5 kids. Derek has 5 kids. And bless our wives, they are hardworking moms. And so I'm sure, just like your wife, my wife is at home trying to balance the things that she normally does as a mom, along with being a school teacher now.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, shout out to all the moms around the world right now that are all instantly had to become, at-home teachers. 2nd
grade teachers and 4th grade teachers and 7th grade teachers. It's wild. So yeah, pretty unprecedented, but we're surviving. Everybody's generally happy and healthy, thankfully. So
yeah, I was talking with my kids last night about how we should try and look for the positives and be grateful for stuff. Grateful that we're all healthy right now and that we have a house to stay in. But man, the stories I get every day when I come home, or just in the middle of the day, my wife called me the other day and said, "So the boys are jumping out of the window onto the trampoline." So I have 4 boys. I feel like, so you have I feel like you have more of a mix.
I got a good mix.
You've got some boys and girls. I just have the 4 boys in a row and then the girl. Mm. And they're like, I call them the wolf pack. They just devour everything, tear everything apart. But yeah, Nixon and Miles have, my 2 oldest, they have a window that leads onto their, like a balcony or like an overhang. And I guess they moved the trampoline over. They were jumping on that. Out of the windows, off the roof onto the trampoline. So
what else are you gonna do?
That's the opportunity that the coronavirus has provided them while they're in their room, supposed to be doing like math or whatever. That's just that's a little sample of what my wife has been dealing with. But and then the other thing that they've been doing, which makes me want to stay at the office more, is they've been doing Just Dance apparently, like, constantly, and they do it loud. They do it really loud, but they're getting good. I come home and they're like, oh, look at the Just Dance thing we learned today. So at least they're moving around. So that's good.
Yeah.
But one thing that we have run into recently that we want to talk about with the coronavirus, we have seen a pretty disturbing trend with insurance companies taking advantage of injured people right after their accidents. So
yeah,
I wanted to talk about that. Insurance companies have been doing this for a while. But apparently it just seems like it's ramped up recently. And the fact that people are financially vulnerable right now and they're getting taken advantage of. So the stories that we're hearing is that a particular insurance company has made it a policy on every case to try and pressure the injured person into settling their injury claim within like the day of the accident, within hours. So what we're hearing, the stories we're hearing are they'll get a phone call from the adjuster saying, hey, look, all you're going to get is $500, $1,000. But if you agree to it right now, sign this thing right now, we can have the money wire transferred to your bank account in 2 minutes, which is just insane.
Yeah. So we call these predatory practices, and they are absolutely predatory. The insurance company can spin it any way they want to, but it's predatory. And as Derek was saying, I just said it as if I'm not talking to you.
That's fine. Just say whatever.
As you said.
Yeah, as I said.
It's not new. It's not new. They've been doing this for ages, probably since the beginning of insurance claims, really. Somebody figured out that people are vulnerable at the moment, and especially when you're dealing with car accidents, there's typically shock involved. It can be a really traumatic event to hear those loud exploding noises, crunching noises, have your body moved around the vehicle violently, unexpectedly, of course. It's traumatic. And I can guarantee, I wish I could prove it, but I can guarantee that these insurance companies have invested millions upon millions in research into, psychological research and, of course, medicine to try to figure out the opportunity for themselves. And we can go into that in a little bit more detail in just a minute, but it is a fact that they know there is a time period from the moment of the impact until whatever time they have no doubt figured out, where they have a real opportunity to take advantage of accident victims.
Yeah, because a lot of times you don't feel injured right after the accident.
Yeah.
So we hear this story constantly. It's very common when we talk about clients right after their accident, or even a year later, and we say, tell us what happened. It's the most common thing is after the accident, they feel shocked, maybe like kind of shaken up, confused, and they're having to worry about how to get their car to the body shop and get their kids to school or whatever they're doing. And it's very typical for that shock to kind of mask any symptoms. The pain's not going to manifest itself. That shock usually will turn into maybe stiffness. Mm-hmm. The stiffness then will turn into soreness and achiness, which can then turn into sharp pain, hot pain that goes from your neck radiating into your arms, right, which would then cause you to get an MRI. Then you may have a disc bulge, and you may have to get a surgery. And that progresses over days, sometimes weeks. It may be 2 or 3 days before you start feeling that sharp pain. And so if you're just feeling a dull, achy, shock, stiff, whatever, most people think if they don't know any better, it's going to go away after a few days. So if the insurance company can talk to you that first day and say, you're okay, right? You don't need an ambulance. So and people are, so desperate right now. They're talking about, bailout money. If I can just get the $1,000 the government's going to give me. So if this insurance company comes along and says, hey, we'll give you $1,000 check right now. The problem is you take that check, your claim is settled. 3 months from now, you've got, $20,000 in medical bills and your options are limited.
Or worse, you haven't done anything to treat your body,
right,
because you can't afford to do it, and you're just suffering. And if that person is, mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or whoever is the provider for that family, that's a real problem, because if they're suffering, odds of them being able to work or work a normal shift or whatever they've done in the past is going to be at best diminished. We should probably give a little context about Las Vegas right now too.
Sure.
As we mentioned before, with the coronavirus and the measures that the government has taken to lock down a lot of the country, but in Las Vegas, in Nevada, Governor Sisolak, as we mentioned, he locked down the state, but particularly he locked down casinos and gambling, and of course tourism is already was already hit because of the nationwide efforts to contain the virus. So for those that don't understand Las Vegas, that is a major economic driver in this town. The casinos, the hotels are empty right now. The Strip is a ghost town, which is an amazing sight all on its own. I actually was thinking the other day, somebody certainly will do this, I'm sure. But when this is all over, making a coffee table book of photographs of these places like this Las Vegas Strip, Times Square in New York, and all around those places.
Have you driven down the Strip with the lights not on at night?
I haven't been down there.
I don't know if that's that. My wife was telling me we should do that. I don't know if that's true, if that's what's happening, but I should do that. She was saying, hey, tonight we should drive down the Strip because a lot of the lights are off, which would be crazy. I grew up in Vegas. I've never seen the Strip not crazy, not lit up.
I've lived here for about 12 years, and for those that don't live in Las Vegas, when you live in Las Vegas, unless you work on the Strip or by the Strip, nobody goes to the Strip.
Yeah, typically
you just don't.
You need a reason to go down.
You need a reason. A visitor, somebody's coming to town to see you. They haven't seen the Strip, so then you go to the Strip. But hardly anybody goes to the Strip. But to see it in the condition that it's in right now would be fascinating. So I haven't gotten down there yet, but it actually seems like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
To see it. Definitely not cool what's happening. Our hearts go out to I think the last number I heard was somewhere between 100, 200, 300,000 people that are either without jobs or are on furlough, I think, because of the Strip shutdown.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I feel...
but that was my context. The context to that is that so many people have been laid off. I mean, just laid off. There's no income. There's no more benefits as far as we know. And they are so vulnerable right now. So when someone dangles $1,000 or even $500 in front of someone who is recently unemployed, man, it is hard to pass that up.
Yeah.
But the insurance companies know that.
Yeah. And so what people need to know is there are options. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not worth taking $500, $1,000 right now. If you're injured, which you will not know, at least for a few days or a week, or even longer, exactly the extent of the injury. But I feel like a lot of people don't know this, but if you talk to an attorney and you can see a doctor, you can see a physical therapist, you can see a chiropractor, you can see an MD without paying cash up front. They'll put it on a lien. There are options available to you where you can go get treatment right away, go through a course of treatment until you feel better, and you don't have to pay up front. The attorneys will negotiate a relationship with the doctor where you pay them some money out of the settlement later. So
thank goodness there are so many doctors that are willing to do that.
Right.
They put their income on hold to serve these people who have been victims of a car accident and don't have the means to pay for treatment.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty to think of any corporate. I feel like there's a special place in hell for corporations that take advantage of injured people during a financial crisis like this. So
I felt that way. Honestly, I felt that way about a lot of insurance carriers, and not all. I mean, let's not be too critical, because there are some good adjusters out there that I think have tried hard to be fair. But sadly, I think the majority of our experience, and you and I have been doing this a long time, we've had hundreds and hundreds, if not more than 1,000 cases probably, where insurance companies have just been completely unfair and unreasonable with these people that have been victims of something that, obviously they didn't anticipate it. They didn't want it to happen, but it happened. Yeah.
Car insurance companies are in the business of collecting premiums and paying as little as possible back. I mean, that's their business model. So anyways, being in Las Vegas right now in a service industry, I feel we're extremely lucky that we've been able to pivot, have our people at home. We're able to pay all of our employees. They're all working. the most important thing, I would say that probably the most important policy that we have in our law firm is the weekly communication, the weekly phone calls. And so, I mean, we can talk about that a little bit more later, but it's mandatory. We call every client every week, or call or text, but we reach out to them. So when that was the main concern I had is if we close the office, we want to make sure that we keep that communication open, because especially at the beginning of a case, when you're confused, you don't know what to do, insurance companies are calling you, you have to start treating, you have to get your car to the shop, you've got to maybe see 2 or 3 different types of doctors, you got to get your medicine, all that kind of stuff. People are afraid of making a wrong step. So having that weekly or sometimes 2 or 3 times a week phone call from your case manager it smooths the process out a lot.
Absolutely. It really is what sets us apart. If there is one defining factor, I think, that sets us apart from a lot of law firms, if not the majority, is that communication.
It's the most common complaint I think that people have about their attorneys is they don't get enough communication.
Yeah, you and I both have had clients who have been with other firms, and we certainly won't name names, and we don't need to. It's unfortunately, and there's a lot of them out there who don't communicate with their clients, and you put yourself in the client's shoes, where a lot of them have never even been in an accident before, and they are injured, some of them severely injured, and so their car is either totaled and out of commission, or it's in the shop for a few weeks. Their bodies are hurting, and they just want to know, like, what's the next step? And then once they take that step, did I do it the right way? What's the next step from here? And to have that communication from experts who know how this process works and where the pitfalls lie is huge. So we've found in our business that a weekly phone call it's not even like in the category of being a benefit or an extra service. It's just mandatory.
Yeah.
Like if you want your clients to be well cared for and to establish their claim in the best possible way for the best possible outcome, you have to communicate with them every week.
Yeah. Oh, and during the treatment, I mean,
it's key.
Because I know there are law firms out there, and I've had experience with other law firms where, I mean, if your client's injured, they're going to the chiropractor and they're going to an MD, they're getting medicine, and let's say they need an MRI. And so coordinating the MRI, making sure that the right MRI is done, making sure that those records and the films get to each doctor so they can all see it and coordinate it and both know what each other's doing. And if there is like a disc bulge or something like that and they need to be sent out to a specialist.
That's another topic, by the way, just to put a pin in that.
Yeah.
A whole other topic about not all MRIs are equal.
True. But so the idea of the client going through all that on their own, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And I know that there are some attorneys out there that just say, okay, so you need to see a doctor. Here's a doctor that will treat you. Now, let us know when you're done treating. I'm not kidding. I've had clients tell me those stories where and so at the end of the case, and so they'll call their attorney and say, hey, what's going on with my case? Oh, well, you're treating. So let us know when you're done treating. Then we'll collect all the records. You get all the records from all the different doctors. You're piecing it together, and it's not, you're not providing a service for your client if you're not calling, if you're sending them to a doctor and then letting them just go off on their own and do that. I mean, our case managers are trained to follow up every week on the treatment. So what's going on? Oh, your doctor recommended an MRI. Okay, what kind? What did your, we get the MRIs back, we look at them and we talk about them with the client. Did the doctor explain this to you? Did you understand it? Okay, and you're still getting radiating pain after all this treatment. Has your doctor talked to you about a specialist? I mean, we're helping them along to make sure that they, they're not going at it alone.
And here's the thing, people that are viewing our conversation, whenever they view it, And they're viewing it, let's say they're viewing it from a place of, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, a place of safety where they're not injured. They haven't been in a car accident. They're just watching this to be informed. It's really easy to sit there and go, yeah, but that's just common sense. Of course, if you're hurting, you should go see a doctor. And if your arm's hurting after a while, maybe you should, get your arm looked at by a specialist, an orthopedist or something. Like, it makes sense. I guess what I'm saying is you can sit back in that, almost like the Monday morning quarterback and go, well, yeah, of course I can do all that. And of course I would do all that. But what you don't realize until you're in it is that even though those decisions seem obvious, when you're suffering and you're in pain day and night, and you're not sleeping well because you're in pain, which impacts every aspect of your life, those simple decisions actually become pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And to have somebody on your team saying, in at least one weekly phone call, and our clients do sometimes get more, certainly way more than one, but at least one phone call where someone's asking you, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah.
How did you feel last night? What's your pain like on a weekly average? Does it spike up at any time? Is the
treatment helping?
Yeah, to get you to kind of articulate it and think about yourself, because as easy as it seems when you're not in that circumstance, when you are in it, it's hard.
Yeah.
And
if you're also having to work, let's say you have to go on vacation or something like that, you're going to miss a week of treatment. All that stuff needs to be handled, needs to be talked about. But also, I think the other thing I think that's really important about the weekly phone call is honestly just the encouragement. Yeah. Knowing, because it can be frustrating if the treatment's not helping, if you don't know why your doctor's sending you to an MRI, there's weird things going on that you don't understand. You're having to coordinate, working and getting treatment, all that stuff. Having someone call you or text you and reach out to you and say, hey, is the treatment helping? Okay, what else has your doctor recommended? Like, you can do this. Like, I know this is hard, but just that knowing someone has your back and they're supporting you, and you're having to verbalize it, you're having to talk about it.
And our people are taking notes. So we're documenting everything that the client says so that in the event they forget, we have all that information.
Well, yeah, and eventually all this information is going to the insurance company. Yeah. So for them to know that, you didn't just collect the records 5 months later, you've been collecting records the whole time, you've been talking with the doctors when needed, it puts them at ease. That I think that's the main thing at the beginning of a case. People are confused, people are frustrated, they don't know what to do. Just having those conversations with them consistently calms them down, makes them realize, okay, I can do this. There's a process. Someone's holding my hand, walking me through it.
Yeah. Going back to where we started with this line of thinking, with calls, I had a client, I guess it's been about a year or so now. He was with a large firm in town and he slipped and fell at a large chain, national chain grocery store, and fell so hard that he had a compound fracture in his femur. So a severe fall, and went to one of the large firms in town and signed up with them, provided them the medical records that he had, because of course he went straight to the hospital and had emergency surgery and all that comes with that. So we already had bills and records that he could provide to his counsel at that time. And months went by, and he had zero contact from them. And he had been calling them over and over, and he was transferred from this person to that person and back again. And after months of that, he finally just said, this is crazy. I know there's got to be deadlines involved with this, but of course he didn't know. Mm-hmm. But nothing is happening. I haven't even met my attorney, and I can't get anybody in his office to even call me back. So by chance, he had spoken to someone who knew me, and they said, well, why don't you go see Adam and his firm? So he came and met with me, and we signed him up. And he had a great case. I mean, not a perfect case. I don't know that there really is a perfect case out there, but he had a great case. And it was clear to me immediately that nothing had been done based on the information that we got from his previous counsel. Really nothing had been done. So we picked up and got that ball rolling, and he got a call every week. And he was, I guess for lack of a better phrase, I mean, he was elated with the communication. He would say that over and over, how grateful he was that we're communicating with him and how he felt like he knew what was going on. But ultimately, we were able to resolve his case without a trial, and he was satisfied with the outcome. But it was a case that really was just languishing in another office that I don't know why. I'm sure there's many reasons why they weren't getting to it. Maybe, well, I won't speculate, but I can't help but think to myself how often that happens, where clients out there, they go to somebody they think they can trust that will help them in their time of need, only to find that they're just one of thousands of cases. And we try a very different philosophy over here.
Yeah. And the feedback from the clients is usually, I mean, if you look at our Google reviews, they're usually talking about the phone calls, the communication. Yeah. So talking about the kind of predatory phone calls at the beginning of the cases that we're seeing right now. So what should clients do then? It's like those first few minutes after an accident, what do you think is...
Yeah. So, again, kind of talking about what I was saying earlier, where it's so easy to talk about things like this when you're not in the moment. But we have learned, you and I and everybody here have learned over hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of cases. So you can almost say it's our clinical study. We've learned that there are patterns involved and things that you can do in those first few minutes, first few hours that will absolutely impact the value of your claim. And when we talk about value of your claim, all we're saying is that you get a fair result. Not that you're going to get rich, not that you're going to be able to retire or whatever. It's just that you're treated fairly, because everything is against you. The deck is stacked against you when you're in an accident. So let's break down a little bit, I guess very loosely, the type of accidents that you can be in. So obviously the catastrophic accident where someone's injured severely and they require an ambulance and paramedics to get them from their vehicle to the ambulance, then to the hospital. It's hard to dispute that person was hurt.
Yeah, and there's not much that client can do at the moment. They're getting taken to the hospital. They're going by ambulance. Yeah,
they're at the mercy of hopefully witnesses that are providing testimony to a responding police officer who's also reporting and investigating.
Taking pictures, hopefully.
Hopefully taking pictures. We found a lot of them have body cams now, and that footage is available. So, there's that injured person is at the mercy of everybody doing hopefully a lot to document that scene. But I would say just as common, maybe more common, are the accidents where people don't feel the need to go to the hospital. And partially that could be motivated by the fact that people don't have health insurance, or maybe they're afraid to use it for whatever reason. We can talk about that in a whole other...
Yeah, that's a
whole other subject we could go into.
Video,
that's pretty interesting from our perspective. But anyway, there's accidents that are, let's call them just less severe accidents, where you fortunately are able to exit your vehicle and the other driver who caused the accident is as well. And there's a conversation that can occur. Typically it's something like the other driver, hopefully they'll say something at least along the lines of, "I'm sorry, are you okay?" Sometimes they do, we've learned, sometimes they don't. And let's just say that our hypothetical future client standing there responds with well, I think so, or yeah, because they're able to stand up and speak and move, and they think, well, I'm not dead.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because that is something that comes up later on in the case constantly. It'll come up with the insurance adjuster. It'll come up in a deposition during litigation where, they said they were fine.
Yeah.
Because most people, normal people, they get in a car accident. Let's say they get rear-ended. They get out of the car. You're not going to, like we talked about, you're not going to feel that like sharp pain yet. You're going to feel stiff. You're going to feel shock. You don't need an ambulance. You're not bleeding. You don't have a head injury that you know of. So when you go talk to the person that said this, I'm so sorry, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
That I'm fine will be used against you later. So it's, I don't want to tell people to not be normal humans, but just know that whatever you say is going to be used against you later. So if you're a polite, normal person that doesn't want people to feel that bad, I get it. But the most important thing probably at that moment is not to say very much. If you think the other person's at fault, if they're talking, fine. I would say definitely limit what you say to that person or the insurance company that calls, anybody else.
I would agree. I mean, the less you say, honestly, the less you say can be better for you. Or, if you can provide an honest and thorough assessment of yourself, which is really hard to do in that moment. But if your neck is hurting, and sometimes it does instantly hurt, or at least it's stiff, and whereas 1 second before the accident, you could turn your head back and forth, no problem. Now, all of a sudden, since the accident, which happened just moments ago, you can't turn to the left. If you have the presence of mind and the ability to assess yourself that quickly, and they say, are you okay? Don't do the lazy conversational response that we all do. Maybe try to, you know what? I don't know. My neck feels really strange at the least,
honest,
right?
Those first few minutes,
it matters,
are so important, because this is an important event that's happened to you, and it could affect the next year of your life. So just be really careful about what you say. And the reality is, you don't know if you're injured. That's the thing, is a lot of times we get police reports that say, okay, there's a rear ender on this street and this person was at fault and there's no injuries.
Yeah.
And so they'll use that later. Oh, the police report says no injuries, but that's because probably the police officer came, you didn't want an ambulance, you said you were fine. They've marked that down as no injury. So those first few minutes are so important. Think about what's happening, pay attention to your body. Don't say anything that's going to shut a door that is going to be open later.
Absolutely.
And you don't need to lie and exaggerate and pretend like, but just,
let's be clear. Our advice is obviously don't lie about anything.
Of course.
And you don't need to. That's the thing.
Right.
There is no need to exaggerate. Like, your injuries, if the accident can produce an injury, you're going to feel it. You will.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other subject too, where we can talk about what type of accidents can cause injuries. We could talk for days about that.
Well, yeah.
To put a quick summary on that, very minor appearing accidents, meaning low visible damage, they can still result in some serious injuries.
Yes.
And likewise, extreme damage, vehicle damage following an accident, sometimes does not lead to major injury.
Yeah, we've seen the full gamut.
So to say that all property damage can help you determine exactly what type of injuries is not true. But we can talk about that later.
Well, yeah, but the property damage of the cars is also one of the most important things that tells the story of the accident.
It's a piece of the puzzle, for sure. It can be.
And I think the other, along with the weekly communication that we do, the other thing I think that we do that sets us apart, that I think is vital, is how when we take the bumpers off of the car, we'll ask the mechanic. Yeah. If our whatever body shop our client goes to, we ask the mechanic to take the bumper off the car, take the things and look for damage underneath, because And I think we'll have to go over that in another video, but a lot of times there can be tons of damage underneath the car, and the bumper looks almost pristine on the outside, but underneath there's structural damage. Those bumpers are made to bend and flex, and if you don't take those pictures of underneath the car, the story that you're going to tell, that your attorney's going to be able to tell in front of a jury or to an insurance company, if all you have is that pristine bumper, it's a totally different story.
Absolutely. And I know we keep saying, well, that's a subject we can talk about later. And for those that are watching this, we're not obviously we're not using scripts here. This is kind of stream of consciousness, a conversation, and there's so much to talk about when it comes to personal injury that I think what we're doing right now for the viewers and listeners is that we're giving you this shotgun approach of things that happen along the way in following an accident. And we want you to just have at least this high altitude overview of what to look for and some possible pitfalls in there. So don't be too frustrated with us if you're like, well, go into some more detail about it. I want to know about that. We will, but for now, we want to just give you some of the most extreme points in those first few hours after an accident that will help you improve your position as far as taking care of your body, having the financial means to do so based on the result of your claim. One thing I wanted to get to that we've been talking about is, not people not always knowing that they're injured. Yeah. And now you and I obviously aren't doctors and have very little background in medicine other than what we've learned through our clients and their injuries and what happens generally speaking in an accident. I think we can speak well to it, but it's not really a stretch to understand how this works. When you experience a traumatic event, those exploding sounds that you hear as a car accident, it could be breaking glass, crunching metal, skidding tires, and then associated with the violent movement of your body, your adrenaline just spikes. Yeah. And adrenaline is awesome. Going back to our fight or flight responses and our ancient backgrounds, it's incredibly useful. And I don't think it's out of line to say that adrenaline masks pain.
Oh yeah. Right? I can't tell you how many clients I've talked to that have said, well, the first day I was kind of shocked. I started feeling kind of tired and stiff, in the afternoon, evening, went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and could not move my back. Yeah. I could not get out of bed. Yeah. It's just so common.
And so that is a natural physiological response that our bodies have, and there's no way around it. It happens. And going back to the predatory practices of some of these carriers, if not maybe all of them, they know that. They know that adrenaline is spiking, and they've probably, I'm going to just throw this out there, I'm sure that they've got it way down to an incredible science tables and charts and programs and whatever, where they can plug in the time the incident occurred and know, within a reasonable time when the adrenaline will start to diminish. Yeah. Based on the person's weight and height, if they have that, I don't know.
And their adjusters are trained to get a hold of that claimant right away. Yep. Get a hold of them within these first few hours. Yeah. Offer them money.
We've had, I would say, almost the majority. I think I could say the majority of our cases have an element of that, where they didn't feel pain right after the accident. They didn't feel pain that night. Like, let's say the accident happens in the morning. Even by that night, they're still not feeling a whole lot. But like you said, the next day, totally different story. And sometimes it takes 2 days. But usually by the third day, I don't know, I'm sure somebody a lot smarter than me, 2 or 3 days, a lot smarter than me can document or could provide documentation and some science behind why it's 3 days. I don't know, but by the third day, usually that's when your pain and injuries really begin to manifest. But, going back to what we've been saying with the predatory practice, man, they pounce. We've had clients tell us that they got a phone call when they were still at the scene of the accident.
Oh, yeah.
The accident happened 20, 30 minutes earlier. The driver that caused the accident was already on the phone with his insurance company. Our client and that person had exchanged phone numbers and insurance information. So he had our client's phone number, passes it to the insurance company, and they hang up with him, call our client right there on the scene, and start asking the questions that we've talked about. How are you feeling? Well, I guess I'm okay.
It could be as simple as, and they'll record the call sometimes.
And they're recording
Is it okay if we record the call? Sure.
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
Okay, this is so-and-so adjuster. It's 11:43 a.m. Am I speaking with Adam Brigman? Yes.
Yeah.
How are you doing today? I'm fine. Okay, so then they move on and start, and then that fine.
The fine is
used against you. Oh man,
it's transcribed into
a year later
recorded statement.
But this is why this is the benefit of just hiring an attorney. You don't have to talk to the insurance company. Let us talk for you. We'll talk for you. We'll get your story.
And there's a lot of nice people out there, right? They want to be cooperative, and they want things to move along, and
they don't think it's a big deal. They may think their accident's not a big deal because they're feeling that adrenaline. And
I guess my advice would be, if you were to get that phone call while you're at the scene, or any time within the day or so after this accident, when we say don't talk to the insurance company, well, we're not telling you to just be rude and hide or whatever, though you really don't have to answer your phone. But if you do answer your phone and it's so-and-so from the insurance company that they'd like to ask you a few questions, you can just politely say, yeah, I really don't feel like talking right now. Can I call you back?
Right.
Just something like that. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to hang up on them. And at the very least, it'll give you a few moments to collect your own thoughts. But obviously our advice is get us involved, because we know what they're going to ask you.
Right.
And it's not for your benefit. They're not on your team. Sound some of them, and I'm sure they go through lots of training about this to sound compassionate, to sound.
Oh, if you listen to the recorded calls, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
It's often somebody with a really nice voice, and they're trying to be compassionate. They're trying to be understanding. They sound like your best friend, and people respond to that. People do want to feel like someone cares about them. They may be the first outside person that's called in to check on them. Right. They may not have family that lives here. Maybe they're just lonely anyway. But to hear a nice voice express concern it's appealing to a lot of people, but it's part of that predatory practice. So I guess our advice would be, even as nice as they sound, you can be just as nice back to them and just say, I really don't feel like talking right now. Can I call you later? Yeah. Or something along those lines. There's time. There's plenty of time. You have time to see a doctor. You have time to talk to an attorney. It's not an emergency. Yeah. To handle something with an insurance company right away. One specific thing we can talk about that I want to just I want people to just write this down and put it on their refrigerator and show their friends, is take photographs at the scene of the accident, please, of both cars. Yes. Both cars. We go through this so much so one thing we do is as partners is every Monday morning we have a roundtable meeting, and any of the case managers, any of their cases, they have any problems, any questions about what to do, we go into your office and we just bring them in one on one, and one at a time, and they'll have 3 or 4 cases that we review, and we talk to them. Okay, what's the problem with this case? What do you want to do? And we roundtable it and we come to a decision. One of the things that frequently comes up during roundtables, and the first thing I ask anytime I look at a case for the first time, I say, let me see the photos. Yep. Let me see the pictures of the cars. Yep. And it comes up so many times where we do have pictures of our car,
And we make sure we get pictures of our car. But a lot of times we don't have pictures of the other car. And the problem with that is, so we don't know how bad the other damage is. We may have not very much damage on our car, but who knows what the damage looks like. Could be terrible on the other car.
Yeah.
And if the insurance company could have those photos of the other car, we don't have them. So now they can say all they want. Well, it's a low impact accident. It's not a big deal. The other car could be totaled.
Well, we've had that happen. Let's be clear to the viewers and the listeners. We've had it happen where we are, the damage to our client's vehicle is significant, but it doesn't appear to be a lot, but they are hurt. And we ask about our client doesn't have photographs of the other vehicle and can't remember exactly what it looked like as far as the damage goes, because they were in pain and, in a traumatic event. And we've had the insurance company admit that they have photographs of their insured's vehicle and absolutely refuse to give them to us.
Right.
But say it was a minor accident.
It's a minor accident. And honestly, what insurance adjusters say a lot too, in that situation where we say, look, we need the photographs. We'll send you photographs of our car, send them of your car. And they say, no, you'll have to file a lawsuit to get that.
Yeah.
They literally tell you to file a lawsuit. So as
a true disservice to their insured.
Yes.
Because we're suing the insured driver who caused the accident. We don't sue the insurance company.
Yeah, we're suing their client.
So they're saying, yeah, go ahead and sue my guy, which is just is a whole other conversation. But the punchline of them saying, no, we're not going to give you the photographs is when we have filed the lawsuit, and we do, when they say go ahead and file, we do.
Right.
We get the photographs, and wouldn't you know it, major damage to the front end of their vehicle.
Correct. And just to illustrate this, I have one example that always comes to mind when this thing comes up. So I have it up on the screen here we can look at, and we can edit out the license plates and stuff later for this. But this was a client I had who got rear-ended, okay? And she was with her kids, and she ended up having to get about $26,000 in medical bills. She had to go to therapy. She had to get some injections. She had to get MRIs, and she got rear-ended. So we're looking at the back of her vehicle right now. Not a lot of visible damage. So this is what we have. This is what we have of her car. We have this picture, and we have this picture. Now, what you'll notice is this is a Suburban, and she has a big tow hitch on the back. She got rear-ended. So during the claim, the insurance adjuster said, look, there's hardly any damage to your client's car. There's no way she could be injured.
Let's just pause for just a second and insert here for any of our viewers or listeners that don't really understand vehicles. A tow hitch, if you've never seen a tow hitch or if you've never used a tow hitch is it's obviously used for towing trailers or whatever, but it's mounted to the frame of the vehicle.
Yes.
So, and then it protrudes obviously out the back a significant distance so that you can connect a trailer to it.
Right.
So it's sticking out, in this case, probably 6 inches, 8 inches.
Yeah, probably more.
From the very end of the bumper of this vehicle. But that whole assembly is connected to the frame of the already very heavy vehicle, a Suburban.
So looking at this picture, this is the story that we have to paint. And I'm very visual, the way I see things, and the way that I evaluate cases when I'm talking to an insurance adjuster or a jury is also very visual. So photographs are very important, I think, to tell the story. So if this is the story you have to tell, this is difficult, right?
Yeah.
But we're telling the adjuster, okay, well, she has a tow hitch. So what does your car look like? It must look like something, and if you look closely, there is a little piece of broken plastic right here. There's little clues on here, but anyways, they refused to give us the pictures, right? So we had to file a lawsuit, and when we filed a lawsuit, we got the pictures of the defendant's vehicle, and this is a picture of the front of the defendant's vehicle. Look at that, dude. That is the bumper, the front fender of the truck that rear-ended her. So now you've got, so there's a few more here. I mean, you can see the imprint of her tow hitch.
And that's a large vehicle
Look at
too.
that.
It's a
Ford
full size
F-150 truck.
full size pickup.
And look with the bumper taken off. Look at this. Look at that fender. Look at that piece of metal bent. So now, imagine the difference in storytelling.
Bring up the
If
first
you just
one.
have that versus now you've got these two photos side by side. Yeah. And so in a trial, which, the way that, even though we try and settle cases and not, take them to trial if we don't have to, it's usually better for the client if they can get a settlement. But if we go to trial, this picture on the left is going to be Exhibit A for the defendant.
They're going to parade that around the courtroom, and they're going to say things like, "A picture's worth 1,000 words."
Yes.
And stupid, trite phrases like that.
Yeah.
And the jury's going to go, "Wow, yeah, I don't see damage. You're right, yeah."
So this one actually went to arbitration, and so we both had briefs. And the brief in that case by the defendant said this accident can be best summed up by looking at this photograph. And they showed this photograph of my client's car. And so, at the arbitration, I brought that up and said, well, if this picture's worth 1,000 words, imagine how many words this other picture is worth of their car. And so juries have common sense, arbitrators have common sense. They're going to see, they could see our car and think, yeah, it wasn't a big impact. They see the other car and the two of them together, the picture makes sense. You've got this. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of damage to the back doors or the paint of our client's car. But that's because they have a massive tow hitch. Yeah. But they still got nailed. Yeah. Nailed hard enough to bend the frame. The truck was totaled. The defendant's truck was totaled. So please take photographs of the other car. Yeah. Now, I know, again, people want to be polite. They don't want to be overbearing, but this is an important moment, okay? Those first few minutes. You get out of your car. You may feel sheepish about taking pictures of your car. Most of our clients take pictures of their car, and I think they feel sheepish about going over and taking pictures of the other car. Yeah. You have to have this. This can make all the difference in the world, from turning your case into a no impact case to a massive impact case.
Well,
and it can help you avoid litigation, because if we had these photographs in claims, there's no way the adjuster could have said, "Oh, this is a low impact." We would have said, "Oh yeah, what about this picture right here?" Yeah. You're calling that a low impact? That is a massive hit. Of course, that justifies, because if I only have that first picture and I have to go in front of a jury and say, this accident caused $50,000 or whatever we're asking for, versus having both photographs, it makes all the difference in the world. It can help you avoid litigation. Take photographs of the damage of the other car, please.
Well, we joke about this somewhat when we're doing these roundtable meetings that you described, where, as a society, we take pictures of everything. Yeah. We are all constantly taking pictures, and a lot of us are posting them to our different social media accounts. I mean, it doesn't take but 2 or 3 minutes of exploring on Instagram to see the types of things people take pictures of. They take pictures of everything. Yeah. But for some reason, and no doubt it's because it's a traumatic event, there's a lot going on, your adrenaline's spiking, it's hard to think clearly, especially if you've injured your head. But at the scene of the accident, you've got to get pictures. And we've seen attempts, I guess, that you could maybe call it. The person, like our client, they've taken pictures of their vehicle, and they've taken pictures of the other driver's license. They've taken pictures of the other guy's insurance card. And they've even gone so far as to take a picture of the other vehicle, the at-fault vehicle's license plate.
Yes. That we see this so much.
And it's like, okay, well, great. You've protected yourself as far as the identity, likely.
Of like a hit and run possibility.
Yeah, the likelihood of them being able to say I wasn't there or whatever is virtually eliminated when you have photographs like that. And sometimes they'll even take pictures of the driver. That's helpful. It is helpful. but they have missed the entire, they've missed the opportunity that could entirely change the course of their case by documenting the damage to that other vehicle.
And you only have that time to take the picture. Because once that car leaves, once you guys leave the scene of the accident, we can't go, it's very difficult for us to then go find, it could go to a tow yard, it could go to a body shop. We are not going to get photographs of the other car usually until litigation.
Yeah.
So if you are taking pictures of the other car, the other damage, and that driver for some reason starts getting hostile and saying, "Oh, wait, what are you doing? Don't take pictures of my car." You have to do it. You have to protect yourself. This is your only chance to have the other half of the picture.
It really is. And it's an opportunity that just won't happen again for you. And it could make the difference between your case being resolved without a lawsuit or requiring a lawsuit. So, man, it's important. But what I would add to that is that I would think, based on what we've understood about what happens at the scene of an accident over all the cases that we've had, I would say, generally speaking, most people who are there, the person that caused the accident probably isn't going to be too combative or confrontational with you. If you want to take pictures, I don't think they're going to care. They may even ask you if you'll just send them copies of it. And that's fine. Go ahead and send them copies of your photos. You don't have to, but the proof is the proof. Whatever you can capture with your photographs that show what happened in the accident, what happened to the vehicles, the position of the vehicles in the roadway, the surrounding area, if it's near a traffic light, or even the street names. Just it's unusual that you'd forget the street names where the accident occurred, but taking pictures of the street names doesn't hurt. So just thoroughly documenting, I guess, is our point. Just do as much as you can. The trick is trying to do that under duress, under the spiking adrenaline, the concern for your own well-being, and heaven forbid, if there's loved ones or friends in your vehicle, your concern for them. A lot of that stuff outweighs taking pictures, and we understand that. But the insurance companies understand that too, and they're really glad when it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So just get the pictures. You'll always have them afterwards. How long does it take? 30 seconds, a minute?
Video. Start your video and just walk around and capture everything on video.
The most significant damage you can see to the other car, we just need some documentation of that, and it will hopefully help you avoid litigation and increase the value of your case. The other thing that we were talking about earlier is the importance of getting treatment after the accident. The longer you wait from the time of the accident until your first time you go to see a doctor, a lot of times that will be used against you as well, that there's a gap. There's a gap in treatment. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, we've used the phrase with a lot of our clients, when we've discussed with them about their accident, and fortunately we've had the opportunity to meet with clients. They've come to us the same day that their accident occurred. They'll come into our office and want representation. And once they've explained the facts to us and we believe it to be a case that we can help them with, we tell them the clock's ticking as far as your injuries go. So, the pain or discomfort that you've already described to us, you got to act on that, and you got to act on it now. And I think, at the very least, when an accident occurs, as we've said already, it's not uncommon for someone to not feel pain. Or said better, it's common for people to not feel pain immediately. But I don't think there's a situation out there that I've seen where at least one checkup is a completely reasonable action for a accident victim to take. So
yeah, even insurance companies agree on that.
At least one visit, right?
When we have insurance adjusters that say, "Look, I don't think that your client was injured, but I'll still give them I'll still give them this money to go get a checkup and get X-rays or whatever."
Or we'll cover the cost of that first visit. that seems to be universally accepted, because why wouldn't you? You know, at the very least, if you're not feeling anything, you should get checked out. A medical professional will have a much better ability, obviously, to help you understand what's happening to your body. And that person may say, your adrenaline's spiking through the roof right now. I'd like to see you in 2 days. And that can happen. But there's a million different things that can happen, I suppose, is what we're saying. But getting checked out is a completely reasonable action to take after an accident. So if you have the ability to get to an urgent care, quick care here in town, you know, you've got UMC quick cares and other urgent cares. If you want to go to the ER, just do something. Now, the curveball, I guess, that we see with our clients is, unfortunately, a lot of them don't have health insurance. So going to an urgent care, quick care, or the ER is actually a potentially very expensive event for them. So they can't afford that. Or sometimes even when they do have health insurance, just the copay is intimidating because they have a tight budget.
Yeah.
And we get that. And insurance companies get it too. And they hope that you'll be intimidated by the cost of even just a copay. But what we see all the time is with clients is that, you know, they tell us these things. Well, I don't have health insurance, or I do, but I honestly cannot afford a copay right now. And we have the ability, as we discussed earlier, we have the ability to direct them to really great treatment providers who are willing to see them with no upfront costs.
Right. And, you know, even if, you know, like we're talking about, it's very common, maybe it could be a couple days after the accident where the injuries do start to manifest themselves. You don't know if you're injured yet. Stiffness will turn into pain over 2 or 3 days. If you do want to, there are clients, a lot of clients that come in and say, I was in this accident. I wasn't sure if I was injured. I was kind of stiff. I had a headache or whatever. I thought it would probably go away after a day or two. Doesn't go away after a day or two. So then they come in and see us. That's fine too. I mean, just during those 2 or 3 days, you don't worry about, you know, settling your case with the insurance company or anything like that. Just, it's okay if you wait a couple of days. The importance is when you do feel the symptoms, getting that documented. So whether it's going to a quick care or a hospital or a treatment provider, we can refer people to that will not take require an upfront cost. You know, only you know what you're feeling. So until you get it documented by a doctor, it's just not recorded, and it can still be looked at as a gap in treatment. Even if you say, well, I took ibuprofen for the first 2 or 3 weeks, it's better to get it documented.
Yeah. You know, and for our viewers and listeners, just we've kind of been talking about what these actions translate to later in your claim or in your lawsuit. One of the things that occurs with this, we'll call it the gap in treatment, which is that's the term of art that's used in our industry. You know, the gap in treatment is just the time from the accident to the first visit to a medical professional or a chiropractor or anybody in as far as treatment goes. They call that a gap in treatment. There's other gaps in treatment that are also can occur later in a case. But what happens is, you know, when we say the clock's ticking, it's almost like they start a stopwatch at the insurance company from the time of the accident, and then they see what you do. And even if you're acting as reasonably as anybody would, let's say you don't do anything the first day because you don't feel right, but you also don't feel pain. Maybe it's stiffness, maybe you're in shock, of course. You know, the example we've used where you go to bed that night, wake up, and then the next day you can't even get out of bed, or you can't turn your head one way or the other because you are injured and the pain is excruciating. Even though it's only been maybe less than 24 hours, we have had experience in our cases where the insurance company or the insurance company through the future attorney that's defending that driver who caused the accident will say things to us. Well, if you were hurt, or they'll say to our clients rather in a deposition, well, if you were injured, why did you wait 24 hours?
Exactly. Every deposition that has any kind of gap.
Hours. Yeah, what's that? That's nothing. Or and even the scenario you just presented, which is sometimes I would say it's common it's something about that third day. By the third day, they're like, wow, this pain, maybe they felt the pain the next day or even the same day, but it wasn't that bad. You know, they're strong, they're healthy people, generally speaking. So, you know, maybe take some Advil or whatever and a hot bath and I'll feel better in a day or two. And then they don't. But by that third day, everything's starting to manifest. The adrenaline is completely dumped out of their system and they feel everything. And then they go get treatment. Inevitably, at that future point in the lawsuit, in a deposition, well, if you were in so much pain, why did you wait 3 days to go get treatment?
Right.
So they will use all of it against you in your case. Anything and everything that they can use to take advantage of your situation, they will use against you. But just know that it really makes it tough for them to say that phrase, well, if you were hurt, why did you wait?
Right. It's easier to say, why did you wait 14 days?
Yeah.
For them to say, why did you wait 2 days? They sound stupid when they
sound stupid, especially or 24 hours. And we've seen that in front of juries. They try to play that in front of a jury. Well, if you were so hurt, why'd you wait 24 hours? And the jury just looks at them like, well, what else are you going to do?
Right.
You know? So the point of that explanation is that clock is ticking, and taking photos and getting treatment, even if it's just a checkup to make sure you're okay, man, time is of the essence. You've got to do it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
We at least hit some of the highlights that are important in those first few days, minutes, hours.
Yeah. And we'll put out more videos. And honestly, our goal with making these videos and this content, putting it out there, is free education for people.
Yeah.
We want you to be in the best shape possible, because just people don't know this unless they've gone through it and they've dealt with a case or a claim from the beginning to the end. They don't have the perspective. So, we just want people to be informed. If you get in a car accident, heaven forbid, during the coronavirus lockdown, where everyone's vulnerable, we just want people to be informed and know what their options are. And
I think with that, this has been a thought on my mind. Well, probably since I've been in practice, but to just put this out there, if you've been in especially a car accident, but even a slip and fall too, if you've been injured personally as the result of negligence or an accident, I'm trying to be a little bit polite about this, but just because you have a friend who's a lawyer that practices in Nevada or in Las Vegas and says, hey, I can help you out, doesn't mean they know what they're doing. Everybody in our industry thinks that personal injury is just easy. Anybody can do it. And it's true that anybody can do it, but we have had hundreds of cases that have come from firms where they don't specialize in personal injury. They don't focus on it. It's not their primary practice, but they're trying to dabble in it or whatever. We've had hundreds of those cases end up in our office because they didn't do it right.
Yeah, there's a weird thing about personal injury for some reason that other attorneys, whether they do bankruptcy or real estate or whatever, where they think, I could handle your personal injury case. That's easy.
Yeah.
You just open up a claim with the insurance company.
Get some treatment, submit the bills.
It rarely, if ever, ends well.
To be done right, you need the
perspective.
I don't do wills and trusts, and if I want a will and trust done properly, I'm going to go talk to a colleague of mine that does that, because I don't know the pitfalls involved in that. And it's the same for us. It's the same for any aspect of a professional service. I mean, if you've got plantar fasciitis, you're not going to go see a spine surgeon.
They're both doctors. Yeah.
Both doctors, and surely they could give you some decent advice, but you go to the specialist.
When we go to law school, we get a broad range of, general topics about the law. We all have to study contracts. We all have to study property law, criminal law. So you do get this broad, base of knowledge about the law. You'll see, torts, personal injury, that kind of stuff. But man,
I feel like I should qualify something.
Practicing a specific type of law is just completely different.
And this is my lawyer brain just thinking right now. I've been saying specialize and specialist a lot. And to be clear, because we don't want to misrepresent anything, we have not been certified by any board or agency or otherwise that we are specialists or that we specialize. We have not been certified in that regard.
Yeah, lawyers have a lot of...
But it's all we do.
Yeah, it's all we do. Lawyers have a lot of weird rules about what they can and can't say with advertising and stuff like that. And there's actually a bar rule where you cannot use the word specialist unless you've been given a certificate by...
We have not received that certificate. We don't advertise ourselves as specialists.
However,
but it is all we do.
We've seen everything. It's all we do. And in fact, we do have special knowledge, I guess, maybe that's okay, about certain things that we can talk about in other videos where we've had experience with insurance bad faith laws, things like that.
I feel like we have seen it all.
So one thing interesting that happened to shift gears a little bit, with our own personal experience with insurance is we as partners recently applied for some life insurance benefits. And it was really interesting. We're also open with each other. So we're in this office, and our agent is showing all four of our different rates and the reasons why. And he even asked us, is it okay if Derek, is it okay if I show Adam and Brent and Roger your stuff? And I said, sure. And we all said, sure. And so we all saw each other's rates, and it was really interesting to see. My rate was higher, even though I'm the youngest, than yours and Brent's, because I have a prior neck injury. And also because I had gone skydiving more than twice. That was what he said. So, with life insurance, they have these little benchmarks. So apparently, Brent's been twice. Yeah. I've been 3 times, but so he didn't get docked because he's only been twice. But my thing shot way up.
Should we tease a little story about Brent's last?
Well, I'm going to do one of these with Brent, and then we'll have him tell that story.
I want to be in on that.
You can come in on that because that was great.
That was insane.
He should have. Well, I don't want.
Let's tease it a little bit.
Well, let's. Well, I just don't want to ruin his insurance policy that he's getting. Okay. But. The one interesting thing about you that you got marked up on a higher price is because of your prior aviation experience. Yeah. And we have never really talked about that. So I wanted to ask you about that. Like, how did you get into that? And
so I just have a private pilot's license. It's a really basic rating. It's single engine and what's called VFR. VFR stands for Visual Flight Rules, which is, so if you have a single engine VFR rating, you can fly yourself and, in most cases, 3 or 4 other people, 2 or 3 other people or 1 other person in a single engine small plane that you see flying around the valley, Cessnas, there's a bunch of different planes. So I trained a lot in Cessnas. So it's just 1 propeller, 2 seats, 4 seats, sometimes 6 seats. That's the kind of plane.
But so you grew up in Salt Lake.
I grew up in Salt Lake.
So how did you have access to a plane?
So my dad has his pilot's license, and he didn't fly a lot, though. He didn't have his own plane, or at least he didn't have his own plane where he would fly it regularly as when we were kids. But we went up a few times, but he is an aviation fanatic, like all things aviation. So I feel like I was kind of raised with that in my life. Primarily, he's into World War II aviation. It's fascinating. It's cool. He's got some cool stuff. And he did actually have a Cessna 140. It was like a 1940, I don't know, 1940 something, two-seater Cessna scout plane that was used in World War II.
Wow.
It was pretty fascinating.
That's crazy.
But anyway, so that's kind of a
So he let you
there.
fly that whenever you wanted, right?
Well, no,
Toss you
actually.
the keys.
Yeah.
I'll fly the Scout.
No, he was restoring that, which was a whole other process. It's pretty fascinating. But I actually didn't learn to fly until I was in my 20s. And I just had an opportunity. I was single. I was going to college, but I was working full time. And so despite going to school full time and working full time, I still had quite a bit of time because I didn't have a wife or kids, and wanted to fill my time with something exciting. And I just thought, man, I've been putting off this pilot's license for so long. It's time. So I did that. And so at the time it was called Airport 2. I believe it's now called South Valley Regional Airport in Salt Lake. Went out, found an instructor, and started. And took, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, somewhere in there of flight time with the instructor, and then solo flights, which were really exciting. And I got my license. So, and at that time, again, being single and having a little bit more discretionary income at the time, I flew a lot. I'd grab buddies and be a cool guy with taking a girl on a date here and there.
Want to go in my plane? I'll fly you around.
I'll fly you around. It was pretty fun.
Want to see the heavens?
Yeah, I'd probably use some stupid line like that. But we had a great time, and my buddies really they took full advantage of it because they'd ask girls on dates, and then I'd go fly them. There was a few times where I was like an Uber driver.
Yeah.
Where it was just me in front and them two in the back.
Yeah, we can go in my buddy Adam's plane.
My buddy will fly around. So we do that.
Dude, please, dude. I've been asking out this girl for months. She finally said
but
yes.
It was a win-win for
go.
me. It was a win-win for me though, because I'd be like, if you pay for the gas, dude, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And they would. So it was great. So I got the time. I got to log the time, and they got to log some time too.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Well, like when we went on a trip to the Bahamas last year, and we took a little. What kind of plane was that?
I think it was
we were staying in Nassau, and then we went to a smaller island.
Yeah.
And we took a little plane, and the pilot,
plane was called Beach. That's the manufacturer.
Okay, but the pilot let you fly.
Yeah, he's a really, really cool guy and a great pilot, by the way.
Is that your first time flying over like the Caribbean blue waters? Like
yeah, the first flight over the Caribbean.
Yeah, awesome.
Most of my flights took place over the Wasatch Mountains, if you know where those are, or Great Salt Lake, or anyway, we're around Utah. And although I did a little flying in Oklahoma one time, but flying over the Caribbean, really unreal. There's just not words to describe how cool it is just to be there and the water and the colors. But
I was shocked that he just let you do it.
Yeah, he was cool, man.
Like, I'm going to sit up here. Do you mind if I take the wheel and the whatever they're called?
Take the control, the yoke. So I now he handled takeoff and landing because there's obviously a lot of liability involved, and it was his plane, it's not my plane. But he was super cool. Once he got us off the ground, he just turned the controls over to me, and there's not a whole lot you have to do. I mean, you're constantly thinking and looking at your gauges, and I mean, you're on. You're definitely on. You can't just, not think about what's happening. But it's probably not as complicated as people might think once you're flying. I mean, you know your destination. You know your heading. You just got to hold the aircraft on the compass heading.
But so how long had it been before then, the last time that you'd flown?
Oh, man. Probably a couple years.
Yeah.
That's
just like riding a bike, you're able to just get back in.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, as far as like the basics go, but I mean, if there was some, B movie that we were all involved in, and someone handed me the keys to that plane and said, okay, you got to fly this plane. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
And it would have been sketchy, and hopefully I would have saved us from whatever impending doom. But, yes and no. It's like riding a bike in some ways, the basics, but every aircraft is a little different. And certainly that one, that was a twin engine. So there's twice as much work essentially that you got to take care of as far as monitoring engine performance and making sure everything keeps moving the way it should. And
so have you thought about do you have access to a plane in Vegas? Have you thought about buying one? I feel like a few years ago you were looking at one.
Yeah, I go through cycles where I think, I should do that. Maybe people do understand this. It is an outrageously expensive hobby.
Yeah.
And buying a plane is really cool. And if you can do it, I'm thrilled for whoever has done that. But buying is just the first step, man. Yeah. There's required maintenance that has to occur yearly, as well as some massive overhauls that have to occur after a certain number of flight hours. But it's just expensive, and it's a machine, and just like your car or motorcycle or whatever, it can break down.
It takes time too.
Well,
so my kids keep talking about getting a boat and things like that, but I'm like, I work too much. I really have a bad work hobby balance, obviously.
I guess I should say that it's a passion of mine, and people will be like, well, if it's a passion, why are you doing it? Because it's tempered by rational thought and financial responsibility.
Yeah.
and to be clear, my wife is awesome, and she's told me, hey, why don't you go log some flight time?
Yeah.
Or why don't you do this or that? And I want to, but I think about what it costs, just for 2 hours of flight time based on the cost of aviation fuel. It's a substantial amount of money. And I think, oh man, she just gave me a free pass to use $300.
Yeah.
Maybe I could, stretch that out in other ways.
Maybe I'll force you to do it one day, and you and Brent and I will skydive from the. we'll make you take a skydiving.
Yeah, I probably have to have a different certification for that. But
well, you went skydiving with us last time. That was fun for Brent's birthday.
That's why I got to be involved.
All right, we'll
that other interview.
We'll bring you in on that other interview.
I was an eyewitness.
Okay. Well, that could be a little teaser for the next episode. Because we're going. We'll have to wrap this up. Thanks again, Adam, for joining me in my office. We will we'll do more of these episodes. This coronavirus has presented us a good opportunity to create some content. So we'll put some more stuff out there for any of our viewers or followers. If you have any specific topics or questions you want to ask that you want us to cover in the next one, put them in the comments. Send us a message, and we'll keep this thing rolling.
This is our first time doing this, too.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will be kind and look past all of our many flaws and faults. But, we're just trying to put some stuff out there.
I'm going to try to not edit out all of my stutters and my sleepy eyes and my slurs.
My facial tics.
We're putting this out there. We've been talking about this for a while. We don't do a lot of social media. We don't do a lot of marketing. Our cases that we get in are very much by word of mouth and referrals. But we did start doing the Google reviews like a year or so ago, and that thing just took off. I think we have like 250 right now, and we're at 5.0.
Yeah.
We have this story we need to get out, and so now's the time. It's a good opportunity.
We apologize for our faces and voices.
We'll get better.
It's all we have to work with.
Your face looks great.
Oh, thanks. Your face looks great too.
Oh. Yours looks better.
Oh. Well, I guess I won't argue with you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's it for now. Thanks, guys.